Hello, this is Honker Muddlefoot, student of science. You're probably listening to the St. Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. But I'm not sure, 'cause I've only checked my calculations twice.
Do you guys remember Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? I sure did as a little kid. But anyway, welcome to the St. Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. I'm your host, Will Santana, and
I'm Mike Russo, and anybody can lift 10 times an ant's weight.
hey, I wish I was as strong as Ant, because I was never good at lifting weights, by the way, Mike.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. I mean, I had to do it for sports reasons, but like bench pressing was probably the one I was the most decent at. But anyway, let's get off subject here. Well, we're off subject,
Right.
But let's get in the subject. Hey, Mike, I got actually a nice surprise for this episode.
Do you?
Yeah, man. Katie Leigh, when I met her in Sacramento, she mentioned this was her favorite episode. So I did a little typing here, a little texting there, and worked a little magic, and we got her on board. Got a little short interview with her, man.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, man. But I didn't want to waste the full-blown interview because I invited her for a special episode that she has to be a part of. And
Oh, yeah, I know which one you're talking about, and she definitely has to be a part of that one.
yeah, and she agreed to sit down with us and review the episode with us, man.
Great.
Yeah,
I can't
man.
wait till I cannot wait till we get to that one.
I know, man. But for now, hey guys, here we go. Here's a little teaser, a little short interview we got with Katie Leigh, aka Honker Muddlefoot. Here it is. All right, so we are here at the St. Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. Will Santana. I'm here with special guest Katie Leigh. Welcome, Katie.
Hi, Will. Thanks for having me.
Well, welcome, Katie, man. I really appreciate you being on here. Oh yeah, man. Big fan. Not just of Honker. Of course, Honker's my favorite character of yours, but along with Richie Rich, Baby Ralph, Sonny Gummy.
Wow, that's far out.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so Katie, how did you even get into voice acting?
Well, I was a good student who talked too much, Will. And you know what? You got to find work that appreciates your personality, I guess.
Oh, okay.
I went to school for broadcasting because I liked broadcasting. I really like radio. I'm an audio person. But then I was trying to do some voice acting on the side because people told me I might be able to make some money that way. So I kind of did it simultaneously when I was in college. And then when I graduated, I was encouraged to, well, I didn't know what I was going to do, so I thought I'd give voice acting a shot. So I gave it a couple of years to see how it might work out, and it worked out very well for me, praise God.
How did you get the role of Honker Muddlefoot? Did you have to audition for it?
I did, but the director, she knew my work, she knew me, and she had a voice in mind for him. And when I came in, she said, do that little boy voice that you do, that kind of nasally thing. So she kind of had an idea at the beginning what she was looking for, what they were looking for. So, yeah.
Was there anything that you added to the character yourself?
You add things as you go along once you start recording because you really don't know that much about your character until you find them in situations and scripts as you go along. So usually the characters will develop throughout series. Maybe you've noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we start to understand who we are, and I'll know what Honker feels like and how he reacts to certain things, and then it just becomes sort of I don't know what the right word is, just a part of who you are when you're in the recording session, I guess.
Now on the show, Honker is with Gosselin a lot, Christine Cavanaugh's character.
Right.
Did you guys record a lot together in the studio?
We recorded, every episode was recorded with the entire cast, as long as they were available.
Mm-hmm. Now I remember you saying we met in SAC Anime. That was where we first met. And I remember during your Darkwing Duck reunion panel, you had mentioned getting Antsy was one of your favorite episodes. Is there a reason why to that?
Oh, I don't know, 'cause it's just funny, the miniature things, and I don't know, I used to like miniature golf when I was little. I like miniature golf courses, so that's all. It was just
So you were
fun.
able to relate to the episode, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
I had my 5th birthday party at a miniature golf course.
Can you tell us like
I mean, my
anything?
5th grade birthday party.
Oh, your 5th grade.
hmm
Okay. Can you tell us like anything about Christine Cavanaugh while recording with her, like would be hilarious or like just unordinary?
Well, she was unordinary. She was extraordinary, amazing. The way she would deliver a line would just always blow me away. I was absolutely fascinated with her and her choices. Yeah, I wish I could think like her.
Can you name like your top 3 characters that you have voiced?
Well, you mentioned a couple, Honker and Baby Rolf are 2 of them. And then I also play a character named Connie Kendall on a radio show called Adventures in Odyssey, and I've been doing that for 32 years, and that means a lot to me.
Oh wow, so that one has a lot of sentimental.
Well, we're still doing it. Yeah. I was just going to say it just has a lot of impact on people all over the world in a really positive way. So it's a blessing to be a part of that show.
Okay. Now, if there's there's a DuckTales reboot that recently came out. Has there been any mention to you of a possible Darkwing reboot?
I don't know if I can say anything about that, but there's always a possibility of anything, right?
Oh wow, just hearing you say that got me excited. Okay, well, hey Katie, I don't want to hold you too long because I really want to save you for a episode we have to have you on. It's an episode called A Brush with Oblivion.
Woo!
And that episode is like the Honker episode. Honker just dominates that episode. Like every fanboy has to mention A Brush with Oblivion when it comes to Honker. So I don't want to hold you too long, and I really appreciate you being on here. Is there anything you would like to say to the fans before you sign off?
No, just thank you very much for listening to this podcast, and I'm looking forward to the one where I star in.
All right. Thank you, Katie.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
All right, Mike, man. That's the interview with Katie, man. What did you think, man?
You know what? It was a short one, but there was a lot of cool info in there.
Oh, yeah.
She's a real sweetheart.
Yeah, she's real sweet, man. I loved Katie, man. When I finally met her in person, man, it was an honor. I told her I didn't want to act like a fanboy out there in Sacramento, but if I could, I would have like kidnapped her, threw her in my suitcase, and brought Honker Muddlefoot back home with me.
Aw.
Yeah, and
I
guys,
like how she did the Baby Rolf voice too.
Oh yeah, at the very beginning. Yeah, that was really cool. Guys, sorry, Mike couldn't be there for the interview. He was at work. He wanted to be there. He tried, but he couldn't get it off, man.
Yeah, I know. I can only take so much time off of work, and it was kind of short notice, your interview with her. So next time.
Yeah, it was short interview on her end too. She just hit me up and said, "Hey, can you go now?" And I had to make it happen. So we got it done.
I'm glad you got her.
Yeah, we got her though. Hey, but we'll bring her back. We got her for a special episode. She's gonna sit down with us and she's gonna help us review the whole entire episode, man. Because technically, it's her episode that she's gonna sit down with us. It definitely her episode.
Yeah, I bet some of you have already figured out which episode that is, but we're not going to tell anybody yet.
Yeah.
She was also kind enough about a month back to record the promo that starts off this episode too.
Oh yeah, that sure did.
Yeah,
But
she recorded that for us as well.
now, guys, I was a little nervous during the interview, so I forgot to ask her to plug where you can follow her at. And but she did email me the information. You can follow her on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I believe on Facebook she has a fan page, which is Katie Leigh voice actor. And she will be, let's do this in order. She will be in Alaska in October on a radio station for a share-a-thon, and then she will be in Reno on November 9th for the Reno at a Comic Con. She will be in Pensacola, Florida in February, and Warren, Michigan at the Great Lakes Comic Convention in February. So she's got a lot going on and chances for you to see her, man.
Pensacola, that's not too far from you.
No, it's about 4.5 hours.
I'd make the trip if I lived down there.
Well, I am, and Jim Cummings will be there also.
Oh, well.
Gotta rub it in your face.
Put in a good word for me when you get down there.
Oh, you know I will, Mike. You know I got you.
So, Katie mentioned what her favorite episode was, didn't she?
Yes, she mentioned this was her favorite episode. She mentioned it because of the miniature golf, and she used to play miniature golf as a child and stuff. And she kind of mentioned this a little bit off air before we started recording, but she mentioned also because of the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good movie. Remember that?
Oh yeah, I love that movie. I didn't like the sequels too much though.
No, I didn't like them either. The first one was fine though.
Yeah, definitely enjoyed the first one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but hey, Mike, let's get into this episode, man. What are we reviewing today?
We are reviewing Getting Antsy.
All right.
Second episode to air on the Disney afternoon. This one aired on Tuesday, September 10th, 1991. And if you're keeping score, it is the 6th episode in production order, so it's a really early one.
Mm-hmm. This is the first time we get Honker and Gosling on the Disney afternoon.
Yes, it is. So if you are not watching on the weekend, this would be the first time you saw Drake Mallard, the first time you saw Honker, really probably the first time you saw Gosling too.
Yep, this was my first time seeing her. I remember this.
It's a pretty good one for Gosling and Honker. I mean, they're not really the focus, but they get some good scenes.
Yeah, they get some good scenes.
So this episode was another one that was story edited by Kevin Crosby Hops. And this one had probably what I would say one of the best writers to have worked on Darkwing Duck. His name is Doug Langdale. Darkwing was, if not the first, one of the first shows he ever worked on. He between writing and story editing and voice directing, he worked on Aladdin, Quack Pack, House of Mouse, the 2012 Ninja Turtle show. He wrote the screenplay for The Book of Life in 2014. And if we go through his Darkwing credits, he wrote about 10% of the show. And among the episodes he worked on are Paradox, A Ducky Phobia, Smarter Than a Speeding Bullet, Disguise the Limit, which is hysterical, My Valentine Ghoul, and now Tad Stones has said Doug Langdale was one of the best writers for Megavolt. And if you look at what comes other episodes he's written Stress to Kill, Inside Binky's Brain, World History, and Jailbird, and they're all Megavolt episodes.
So that makes you a Doug Lane fanboy then, huh?
So I definitely see where Tad's coming from when he says Doug Langdale was one of the best Megavolt writers, because definitely Stress to Kill and Inside Binky's Brain are great Megavolt episodes. And he wrote some good Negaduck ones too.
Okay. No Playtime episodes?
No. Well, he's in Jailbird, but it isn't like a Quacker Jack episode.
Okay.
But yeah, this one, I wouldn't say this is my it's an early one. This is a very early episode, and I think it's really was done before the show really found itself, which I'll go into. But I think we should just jump right into the plot.
Okay, let's go for it, man.
All right. So before we get into the plot though, let me the opening shot shows a beautiful painting of Saint Canard, and I was going to do this a few episodes ago. But I love the design of this city. I love how it's basically on an island, and you have all the high skyscrapers, and then you have the bridge out of town, and it's the only way out of town. And I love how that puts the bridge as the central focus of the entire city. which makes it being Darkwing's hideout the perfect place for him to be.
Oh yeah.
And the surrounding St. Canard is the suburbs. And not every show you get an idea of how great the design of the environment is, but I love it with Darkwing Duck. I think it's just a really well-designed city. And it's just funny I'm mentioning this here because this is the episode where we get the shrinking buildings. So you see a lot of St. Canard in miniature form in this episode. So I just wanted to mention that. I think it's just the show itself has just great production design. The city is just so well designed. And I wanted to mention that a few episodes ago. I never got a chance. But so let's how does this episode start?
It starts off with Darkwing. He's basically like a shadow. He gives it an introduction, and then him and Launchpad basically go grab something to eat.
Yeah, he's had a really busy day. And he mentions a voodoo king with an army of zombies. And I love how it's just a simple night in the life of Darkwing Duck, how he just throws that off so nonchalantly. Like he fights voodoo kings every night. And it's like, considering who he's going to fight in this episode, I think I'd rather see the voodoo king.
The voodoo king? Oh, yeah.
But it's funny what this episode does, though. It spends a lot of time dealing with the fact that Darkwing Duck was up all night.
And because he's exhausted. He's exhausted, man.
And he's tired in the morning. And he makes a big deal about how he has to disappear with the dawn, and it's like he's a creature of the night. I don't think it's something they really adhered to for all that long, making him into like a Batman kind of character. In a few episodes, it's not going to matter what time of day it is. So I think if they stuck to that, Darkwing always out at night and not in the daytime. In the daytime, he was sleeping because he was too tired. I don't think you'd be able to do too many plots. I think you'd get stuck after a while, which shows how early this episode is. And so Launchpad's hungry.
Yeah, he's hungry, and Darkwing has a few exchange words with the guy who runs it was a burger joint, wasn't it?
Well, I think this show gives us what I think is Darkwing Duck's greatest gift to mankind, Hamburger Hippo.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you not love Hamburger Hippo? I
don't want to give the voice actors. I don't want to spoil that right now because he plays another major role in this episode of the hippo. Basically he's getting into it with the guy who running the place of the hamburger joint, Hamburger Hippo. And all of a sudden, then they turn their back, and that's when it happens, when the whole episode really starts to change, shifts.
Right. Everything starts disappearing.
Yeah, everything starts disappearing, and at first he blames the guy who running the place. And he says he has nothing to do with this. He doesn't know where his place is at.
Well, the fast food worker thought Darkwing was just a creep with a mask who wanted to rob him. Don't shoot, the cash is in the register. Things start disappearing along with Hamburger Hippo, and Darkwing kind of blows it off. He's not noticing that. It's kind of like that sinking feeling. Things are happening right in front of him, and he doesn't notice.
Yeah,
Launchpad
caught on.
Yeah, but Darkwing, of course, does not. And Launchpad notices something. Launchpad forgets his scarf, and he looks so weird without it.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
I mean, Launchpad needs his scarf. Without it, he just looks naked. But and then they see some ants come by.
Well, Launchpad notices the ants because his burger.
Yeah, they're stealing his hamburger, and he just this episode, on top of Hamburger Hippo, we get the first instance of Launchpad, the gluttonous mooch, which that wasn't Launchpad on DuckTales. He wasn't a food monster. He didn't go crazy for food. He didn't mooch off of people. But on Darkwing Duck, forgive me. On Darkwing Duck, he loves to eat.
Oh, yeah.
And in this one, he's not paying for anything. He's making Darkwing pay for all of his food. He orders this huge meal at Hamburger Hippo and makes Darkwing pay the bill. And later when they go golfing, he orders a hot dog, and Darkwing has to pay for that too. So that's going to be Launchpad's character. He's just going to be the guy who just loves to eat. And so Darkwing says they have to disappear with the dawn. So he blows off the ants and they leave. And our villain shows up.
Frank Welker.
Yeah, another character played by Frank Welker, of which there are many. Who is our villain?
Lilyput. But he doesn't
Lily.
say his name yet, though. He does
No,
wait a
not
while before he
not
says
for
his
a
name.
while, and they only say it once. And Lilyput's a some sources give a full name for him. They call him Lilyput Goonie, but I don't know where they're getting that from. But he is a interesting character design.
Yeah.
He's a freaky little dude.
Yeah, basically he's shrinking everything for his miniature golf place, right?
Right. He's shrinking things, having his ants carry the buildings. He's going to set up a miniature golf course with all this stuff. We find out why in a little bit. But I want to describe this guy for anybody who hasn't seen this episode. This guy's got a huge beak, a big buck tooth, huge bushy eyebrows, eyes with colored irises, which are just really strange. He's tiny. He's wearing golf shoes and a metal helmet with a big antenna on it. And he's got this ridiculous voice that I'm pretty sure Frank Welker is copying Charles Nelson Riley, the the actor from the 70s. And it's such a weird character. It's no wonder he doesn't come back, but what a goofball. I've seen people on podcasts and blogs just tear this guy apart. Probably more than he deserves. But he's shrinking buildings. His ants are carrying them around and stealing them. And then we get it's daytime and Darkwing's exhausted. And who comes in?
Gosling, she's playing golf in the house.
In the house.
and Honker's her caddy.
Of course he's her caddy.
Yeah.
And Gosling, because he had promised her he'd take her miniature golfing, and now he's too tired to do it. And she gets ready to tee off, and great line from Darkwing. Have I ever told you the story about the little girl, the golf club, and the firing squad? I told you his threats get worse.
Oh, yeah.
And he tells her he's tired. And I love Gosling just goes, if a girl tells you something's fine, it's not fine. And Gosling goes, it's fine. No, it's fine. And she starts playing ball in the house, and Darkwing has to give in. They have a stare down. And he gives up.
Yeah, she tore the house up too, though, when she did that.
Yeah, putting holes in his hat, messing everything up. So I guess they're going miniature golfing. And Launchpad puts it together really quick. He's noticing the buildings. He goes, wow, they look just like the buildings downtown. And Drake is just, they're just paper mache buildings. It's nothing. He's too tired. He doesn't care.
Yeah, but Launchpad isn't good at golf either.
No, what I like... See, my favorite part of the episode is just the golf jokes. I know Katie Leigh said that's her favorite part. She loves all the golfing jokes. And there's a sequence when they're just playing golf. And that could be the whole episode, and I think I would have enjoyed it. And like Gosling keeps losing her ball, and it keeps going into Drake's mouth. And then at one instant she loses a club and it gets stuck in his mouth too. And you got Honker like with all these calculations
and physics.
Just hit the ball.
But Honker's like the master at it. You know, he takes forever, but he's getting holes in one. So
it bounces clear off a building.
You know what? That scene when he did that, when it bounced off the building, it reminded me of the 90s McDonald's commercials with Michael Jordan and Larry Bird. And they were shooting the ball all over the place in the gym. They were like off the rafter, through the window, off the backboard, nothing but net.
I remember those commercials. Yeah, I have not forgotten those. And then you had Launchpad, stuck in the sand pit, hacking away until he hits a water main. Like if this was the whole episode, just all of them goofing off in the golf club. Every so often, honestly, I love it when Darkwing Duck, the show, takes a breather and just lets the characters go about their everyday lives and just do things like this. They don't do it often, but I love it when they do. So Darkwing is all tired. Drake is all tired, so he tries to go to sleep. He rolls down a hill. and bumps into Hamburger Hippo, complete with Launchpad's scarf. So he's putting two and two together. Something's up, and he gets shrunk.
Yeah, he gets shrunk. Lilyput was behind the tree when he shrunk him, but they didn't show him.
Yeah, I've always questioned like what exactly happened. Did Lilyput know Darkwing was there? Was he trying to shoot something else and hit Darkwing?
Yeah, because it was kind of weird because first Darkwing changes to, well, Drake changes into William Drakespeare.
Yeah, but this is no time for poetry.
Yeah, and then he jumps back, and then he comes back out again, and then he's Darkwing, and then boom, he's shrunk. Like that, I was like, that kind of caught me off guard. Like, what just happened here? You know?
Yeah, was Lilyput trailing him? Like, did he know he was there? Because how would he have known he was there? He just changed.
Yeah.
I think the direction there was a little off. I guess it just had to get to that part of the story, and it was just the fastest way to do it.
Yeah.
And so he's
shrunk. It takes Darkwing a little while to figure out what's going on. He's like, why is this Coke can so huge and these bugs?
It always takes Darkwing a little while to figure out what's going on. He has this weird... He has this not in Kansas anymore attitude. Whenever something happens, he never puts it together right away. Yeah. And that happens here. He's like, whoa, look at this. Someone stopped doing gardening while I was asleep, whatever he says. And and then he thinks he's dreaming when the giant ants show up.
Yeah. And then I think he finally catches on when the ladybug walked by. That ladybug turns into be a joke throughout this episode.
And we have another giant gastropod. A huge snail shows up too. So we have lots of slugs and snails in this show again. And I love that one big ant dressed up like the fast food worker, complete with a 5 o'clock shadow. Mm-hmm. And Darkwing doesn't quite get an entrance in this episode. Like, the closest we get is in this bit where he's surrounded by the giant ants. And he goes, I'm the smallest, weakest thing in the whole place. And I am also out of here. That's the closest he gets to an entrance. But I don't even know if that even counts.
Yeah. Now, when the ants come at him, they come at him in those doom buggies, which is my favorite part of the episode.
Yeah, Lilyput gives him little doom buggies.
Now, I got a question for you, Mike. Is this the first time Darkwing says "suck gas, evildoers"? This is the first time I recall him saying it so far.
No, he does say it in that sinking feeling.
Oh, okay.
I know he does when he has the crying tear gas cloud.
Okay, so this is the first time he says it in the Disney afternoon syndications, right?
Yeah, I don't think he says it in Beauty and the Beat.
Okay. Yeah, because when he said it this time, I was like, is this the first time we've heard him say it? Because this is the first time I recall him ever saying it as a child, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I didn't get to see that sinking feeling when it first premiered.
Yeah, I like the dune buggy scene.
I do too. That's my favorite part of the episode.
Because otherwise, once Darkwing shrinks, I feel like the episode starts to lose a little bit of energy, and Darkwing just spends a lot of this part of the episode flying around, falling off the things. But the dune buggy scene's probably the best because there's just lots of action in this part. Mm-hmm. And did you happen to hear when the ant drives a dune buggy into a mushroom and goes flying through the air? Yeah. There's this really high-pitched little goofy scream. You know, mm-hmm. Hoo 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 hoo, but they speed it up, like an ant is screaming it.
Yeah.
I love it when they do that, even when Goofy isn't involved. So
yeah. So when Darkwing crashes in the dune buggy, that's when he finally catches on about the plot, and he's catching on to Launchpad's theory and stuff, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Because they're robbing the bank inside of the putt-putt, you know?
Yeah, and that's when he figures things out, that Lilyput's trying to he's shrinking the building so he can rob the banks, and then enlarge the money when the ants bring it back to him.
Yeah.
But it's also funny how fast Darkwing goes into despair. Like, he's so miserable. He's like, they're going to have to call me Darkwing Dot or Darkwing Dormouse or something small. And he's like, he just gets depressed so easy. It's funny. Mm-hmm. And like, he's running from the ants. I love pathetic Darkwing. He goes into such mood swings. It's great.
Oh, yeah. And then finally, Launchpad and Honker and Gosling realize he's been shrunken.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up running into Lilyput first. Mm-hmm. And Lilyput tries to kill him with the barrel of the gun, the handle of the gun. And Darkwing ends up flying off again, and he crashes into Honker's glasses. That's what he does.
Yeah.
That's how they see him. They catch him. They see he's reflected in Honker's glasses, and that's how Goslin realizes it.
But they can't hear him. He has to like scream in Launchpad's ear.
Yeah, his voice is so tiny and high, they don't really hear it. I love the little tiny Darkwing voice.
Oh yeah, and then that's when they go back to Lilyput, and he finally says his name, and Launchpad is like, I actually think it's kind of cute.
Well, no, Launchpad says it's silly, and Lilyput says, "Oh, you might think this helmet's silly too." And Launchpad goes, "Actually, I think that's pretty cute."
Oh yeah, that's how he said it. Because the hat is what he uses to control the ants.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He controls the ants, and he shrinks Darkwing out of existence. At least he thinks he does.
Yeah, he says he shrunk him to the size of a germ.
And Darkwing's tiny little pathetic bye-bye as he's shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bye-bye. He gets really tiny. He disappears. And this episode is actually the first appearance of Cuckoo Cola.
Oh, yeah.
Which technically, in the Darkwing universe, the first appearance of Cuckoo Cola. But do you know where that was originally from?
No.
You don't?
Uh-uh.
Have you heard of the Rescue Rangers episode, The Case of the Cola Cult?
Oh, my God.
Which was another Tad Stone show. So
yeah.
Obviously, Cuckoo Cola is carrying over. But that was the episode where Gadget joins a cult.
Mm-hmm.
And they bathe themselves in soda. And like orange, grape, and cherry soda, and they have that unforgettable. If you have the Rescue Rangers DVD, everyone listening, or you can find it on YouTube, watch this episode. It's probably the strangest Rescue Rangers episode, and they would sing a song about Cuckoo Cola, and obviously, Tad Stone didn't forget that and brought it over into Darkwing Duck, and it pops up in a few episodes, but this is the first time I think they mention it.
Mm-hmm.
And they use it to attack the ants with.
Yeah, Honker and Goslin does.
They're shaking up the cans and they're spraying it on the ants.
But did you see how much cola came out of that little can, though, man? I'm like, Jesus.
Well, you see how many ants he had all of a sudden.
Yeah.
He went from a handful. If he had sicked that many ants on Darkwing, they would have killed him.
Yeah. So then Goslin starts trying to kill them with the fly swatter, and they don't really show Honker much anymore, do they?
I think Honker may just be in this episode because of what happens when Darkwing becomes a germ. Honker can explain it.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I think in the earliest episodes, they're basically using Honker for exposition when something scientific happens that needs explaining.
Mm-hmm.
But as time goes by, they use Honker better and better.
Yeah.
So Lilyput starts to sneeze.
And then that's when Goslin gets the shrinking gun.
Yeah, so when he sneezes, she turns it on, and Darkwing comes back out full size with a couple of germs around each arm.
Yeah, what did he name them? It was
Okay, Blob and Ray.
Blob and Ray.
That's a reference.
Oh, is it?
Shows like this don't do a lot of references. The Disney shows didn't reference like this, but it's a reference to Bob and Ray.
Mm-hmm.
It was television and radio comedians. Way back when. I wouldn't be shocked if anyone listening's even heard of them. So I had to do the research. I knew it was something. So I had to jump on Wikipedia and find out who they were. But they were decades ago. Bob and Ray were TV and radio comedians. So it's it's a reference that I didn't get when I first saw. I just thought, hey, Blob and Ray, that's funny. Mm-hmm. But no, it's an actual reference. And Lilyput's got the green face with the polka dots all over himself.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if this was like a reference to, have you ever seen The Sword in the Stone?
Yes.
When Merlin becomes a germ and gets Madame Mim sick and she gets blotchy with polka dots?
Yep.
It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was a reference or at least someone was aware of Sword in the Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Lilyput's defeated.
And
for
then
good,
they go back.
We don't really see him ever again.
Yeah, and then they go back to Darkwing's house and everybody's sick.
Everybody's sick. Everyone's got to rest and get plenty of liquids.
Yep. And Darkwing said, I didn't know this was contagious.
How was I supposed to know I'd turn out to be contagious? And even the germs are sick.
Yeah, that's hilarious. The germs got sick.
Where this episode works, I think it really works. The Hamburger Hippo stuff, the Goslin stuff, the golf, this last bit with the germs. It can be really inspired. I just think in the middle of the episode, it kind of goes on autopilot a bit,
Hmm.
and I think it could have been tightened up and a little bit stronger. And what I like about Darkwing Duck, when they go to a cliched plot device like body switching or time travel, they always either subvert it or do something very clever. But I feel like shrinking is such a common thing in these cartoons. Tailspin did it, DuckTales did it, Goof Troop did it. I feel like if this episode was done later in the season, I can imagine how much fun they would have had with that.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen the DuckTales episode Micro Ducks from Outer Space?
Yeah.
I mean,
Definitely seen that one.
that predated Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Hmm.
But they were so clever with that, riding on doves and ended up in the sewer. I think that's what happened. They have to get all the way to Gyro's house, and they're almost killed several times. In Darkwing, everything just happens at the miniature golf course, so there isn't much for Darkwing to do except fly around and bump into things.
Yeah.
Although I like how he used his cape to fly at one point.
Yeah, and it got ripped up.
Yeah, like in Super Mario World, it's pretty much the same thing. He's just floating with his cape like a flying squirrel. And then he gets ripped by a blade of grass. That must have been one strong blade of grass. But I feel like this episode could have done so much more with the shrinking thing.
Hmm.
And I mean, it doesn't hurt the episode too much. I think it's still pretty fun. But
So, Mike,
it
how
is-
many gas gun canisters
Yeah,
would you give it?
I'm gonna give this one 2.5 gas
2.5?
canisters. Yeah, I mean that's average. I
Mhm.
mean that's fine. It's not an episode I watch a lot, except when I have to marathon the show, which, as everybody knows, I do that at least once a year. So I watch this one pretty frequently anyway. But I'm gonna go with 2.5 because it's just middle of the road.
Okay, I'll probably give it a 3. You know, it has some fun moments. I love the Doom Buggy scene. You know, I love the shrinking of the building. I love the bank robbery with the ants, because now that the building is so small and ants, everyone knows that they can lift like 10 times their size, they're able to rip the vault wide open, you know?
Right.
You know,
They
but
could-
the
they could have
Lilyput,
that.
the Lilyput thing is what brings it down for me. You know, I do like some of the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids visuals there, even though I know this movie, I don't think, or this episode's not referenced to that movie. But, you know, with the ants, and I remember in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, they rode the ant for a while, you know, to get back to the back porch.
Right.
It's okay. It's not one of my favorite episodes, but it's okay. It's not bad. You know, there's just a few scenes that kind of drag, but overall, you know, Katie Lee said she had her childhood hanging out at miniature golf places. I only remember doing it once or twice as a kid, so I don't really have a history there.
I love miniature golf. My daughter loves it too. We've gone to miniature golf courses. They got some great ones at Disney World.
Mhm.
I love it. I really enjoy that. So that's why I love the golfing jokes at the beginning of the episode, because I would do it a lot, and my daughter loves doing it too. So, you know, I get those jokes. They're great. So I understand why Katie loves that part.
Okay, now how many gas gun canisters you giving Lilyput, the villain?
I wanna be really hard on him just to be funny, but I don't want to be that hard on him.
Mhm.
I'll give him two gas gun canisters. I mean, his plot is fine, but just as a character himself, like, he's ridiculous looking. He is not a threat,
Mhm.
and he's a little obnoxious. But I think Frank Welker's playing him that way anyway. But he's nothing. He doesn't come back, you know. So I'll give him 2.
I'm only gonna give him a 1.5. I really felt the ants were the episode for the villains in this one. I prefer the ants. I was not a fan of Lilyput at all, man. The ants didn't need them.
Now, let me run an idea by you.
Okay.
Do you think this episode would have worked if they had made it a little bit later and it was a Quackerjack episode?
I don't see how Quackerjack could have really helped this episode, because it doesn't fit his theme at all, you know?
I don't know, shrinking things and turning them into toys?
If he would have turned them into toys now, I think that would have worked.
Because they kind of use that plot in the Boom comics. He turns people into toys and shrinks them down. And maybe I could see Quackerjack opening his own miniature golf course, you know, turning buildings into toys and shrinking people down. I could see that working with Quackerjack, but, you know, this is an early episode before I doubt before they even thought of Quackerjack, so...
Hey, come on, man. Stop teasing me with Quackerjack. I still got a while before we get to him.
Quackerjack, Quackerjack, Quackerjack.
Oh, my God.
No,
But yeah,
it hit me a few days ago. I'm like, this could have been a Quacker Jack episode at some point.
Mhm.
But hey, Lilyput, he's a goofball. All right.
Yeah.
So I guess we've come down to the end of this one.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and wrap this up, Mike. Where can the people reach you at?
Mike Russo on Facebook. There you go. Simple as that.
You guys can find us on the St. Canard Files Facebook page. We have a fan page on there. Follow us on Google Play for the podcast, Stitcher, Apple, Spotify, Pinecast. I already said Pinecast. There's another one. I remember your buddy started following us on. I can't remember the Pocket Cast or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna just shout out really quick. I have a coworker who is actually, our podcast has motivated him to download the entire series, and he watches the episode first, then listens to our weekly episodes. So if you're listening, hi James, thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, James.
And anybody else who is discovering or rewatching the show for the first time in a while thanks to this podcast, we appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate it, y'all, but we're signing out right now. Playtime is over. Stay dangerous.
Good night.
Good night, y'all.